So last week I had reviewed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and after watching it, it got me thinking, maybe I should just check out all the other animated TMNT movies. I mean, I've loved them as a kid, and maybe I should rank them. And we're gonna be specifically doing animated TMNT movies. I mean, I would do the other ones, but...
Oh, and we're teenagers, but we can still have adult conversation.
yeah, I think I'm gonna just leave those alone. I think you guys have a pretty good perspective on those films, and the originals were also perfectly fine. But today we're gonna stick with the animated movies ones, because there's already been people that have ranked the series and all the other iterations, so we're gonna stick with the animated ones today. So before we start, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let's talk about my ranking of all the animated TMNT movies. Now, I'm gonna be real with you, at the beginning of this tier list, we're gonna have to go to the bottom. It has to be TMNT 2007. Yes, I know, I'm sorry. People told me to give it a chance. I watched it. Okay, here's the thing. The movie had an interesting premise, starting off with how the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were kind of split up. They were kind of disbanded, but not really. Mikey was working as a children's entertainer. Donnie was, on the phone provider. I forgot what it was. Leonardo was out in South America training. And it was this whole thing where we're just kind of thrown into it, and we don't understand the full plot till later. I didn't really like this version of Splinter in this movie. He just didn't really do much. He was just nagging at the turtles, which a normal Splinter does do, but maybe later on he actually contributes to the plot, but here he doesn't really. I mean, the character dynamics is pretty nice. It had a really good premise. I'm gonna give the movie that, but the execution, not so much. And honestly, regarding the movie itself, there are movies that have come before this that have looked cleaner and definitely still hold up today, but this movie just screams 2007. And unfortunately, it does kind of hold the film back nowadays. It has not really aged that well. I like the slightly darker tone this movie gives the Turtles, but it was a good premise, but just really, really bad execution. And if you like the movie, I salute you. You actually enjoyed it. I'm really happy you did. The villain in this movie was just I really didn't enjoy the villain in this movie. He wasn't really that great. So that's also what weighed the movie down. It was just overall like a good 5 out of 10 movie. It's okay. I know people like it, but if they just executed its premise a little more and maybe gave the runtime a little longer, it could have been a much better TMNT movie. Yeah, I'm gonna be leaving it in number 5. It's just okay. It really, really could have been better. But coming in at number 4, I was not expecting this, but the movie's called Batman vs. TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I actually do still consider this a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. It's kind of half and half. It's a crossover, but it's up there. People seem to really like this movie, and honestly, on rewatching it and, seeing it again, I actually pretty do like this movie. Batman and TMNT have actually had a history before this movie. There was a very popular comic series of this, and it was about time to bring them together in some form of way outside of comics. And for this adaptation, they did a pretty good job. This is a new interpretation of the Turtles, but they didn't throw us in like TMNT 2007 did. We just, we already know the personalities of the Turtles. It wasn't this whole side thing. Honestly, with just us knowing that, it helped us grow into the movie a little more. And they kind of just get thrown into New York. They don't really explain if this is their dimension or not. I guess it is. I guess TMNT and Batman exist in the same universe in this movie. It's a little confusing, I'll give it that. But I really do like the creativity they go with this movie, with having the ooze affect all the other DC villains, and we get these really, really cool designs of all these characters, like the Joker, Harley Quinn, Two-Face, Mr. Freeze. It was really, really cool to see all those different versions. And the Bat family and TMNT, their dynamic was pretty good. They didn't obviously get along at first, but as the movie progressed, I really did like their dynamic, and honestly, they'd be a pretty badass team if they all really came together for something else like this. But it's a really good movie. It's a good 7 out of 10. The climax was a little tad bit rushed, but I did like what they did with this movie, and actually, this is the first time I think I've seen Warner Brothers and Nickelodeon collab, if I'm not correct. Let me know if you've heard of another time this happened. And this is the first animated TMNT movie where they gave the strong PG-13 rating. Shredder was... and the other villain, Tomon Ghoul, I know I said it wrong, but they were offing some people in very, very on-screeny ways. So I was not expecting that. I probably should have looked at the rating. Yeah, it was PG-13, but that's good. I do like that they give the TMNT, it's not necessarily a children's show, it's open to all audiences, and that I do like about that movie. So it's going in number 4, I like it. They did a really good job of, bringing the comics to life, and yeah, it's a good movie. It's not necessarily bad. My only critique is maybe the finale was a bit rushed, but that's about it. In number 4, it's not a bad movie. I do recommend checking it out. It's both a Batman and TMNT movie, yes, but it leads more on the TMNT side of things. So yeah. Coming in at number 3 is Turtles Forever, and honestly, before making this video, I had no idea this movie existed. I know, that's pretty surprising. Surprisingly, a lot of people had known about this movie. Well, that's probably why I didn't necessarily grow up on this version of the Turtles. This was another version of the Turtles from 2003 that was actually very popular on the network that it aired on, and it decided to get some television movie. And this is basically your version of Into the Spider-Verse with TMNT, which is a really cool idea, which I had already seen in the 2012 show, but this is an also kind of cool interpretation of it also. This is the first time it happened. And honestly, I did really, really like this movie. I was not expecting to walk out. I was like, wow, that was actually pretty good. The dynamic between the Turtles at first was pretty good. It was nice to see the classic Turtles, return. This, mind you, this came out in 2009, and they still the animation still holds up with this movie, and they even do reference the TMNT 2007 and a, flash reel of all of the other universes, but they still keep the old agenda with the original Turtles, which I do really like. It's a really fun banter between these kinda more serious Turtles and, the more goofier side of the franchise. And Shredder obviously does return here, and also the Krang. And speaking of the Krang, we will definitely get into later. But Shredder here was also really fun. They still captured the same atmosphere of the original show, which they should do in a crossover like this, because this was meant to celebrate the 25th anniversary, and this alternate version of Shredder, that is specifically from this show, is a pretty badass Shredder. I will not hold you. He was kicking ass in this movie, and I really did love it. It's a multiversal plot that was probably a lot of surprising to a lot of people back then, but now it's kind of like, you've seen it before. I mean, Spider-Verse exists right now. But it had some really fun action, and bringing in even the comic book versions of the Turtles, that I was not expecting. I did not think they were gonna go that far with the movie, and they did, and it uplifted it like a lot. Seeing freaking 12 turtles on screen was something I was not expecting with this movie, but they delivered on the action really well. And honestly, that's all I really needed from it. 12 well, mostly 8 turtles for the majority of the runtime, just battling it out against different version villains of themselves. That's all I really needed. It was a really fun movie. I do recommend you go check it out. For some reason, it's still on YouTube. It's probably gonna get taken down eventually, but it's there. And that's where I'm gonna leave it. Number 3. It's a pretty fun movie, and especially if you were a huge Turtle fan, you've probably already watched it, but if you haven't, I think you're really gonna enjoy this movie. And coming in at number 2, okay, these two movies were battling it out when I was planning this video, but okay, number 2, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. Okay, this movie was bananas. And this really pushed the limits of what I could see Nickelodeon doing with their shows. And it's so sad that this show is kind of basically over. I haven't heard anything about the Rise of the TMNT coming back. It seems like this movie kind of served as its finale, which kind of works, kind of doesn't. I really didn't want to see this show go, but the movie delivered on everything I wanted it to do with this. First of all, this movie had the most intimidating version of the Krang I've seen in a lot of these movies, and they did not hold back on the action either. I mean, you need to watch this movie. It's on Netflix. Most of you guys most likely have Netflix. It's just a bananas movie. The chemistry between the turtles is all great, animation is spectacular, and you will not be left bored with this movie. It takes the plot of where Casey Jones is from the future, and the Krang has basically decimated the planet, and it's up to the turtles to, stop that from happening again. And leading off from there, it's just a bananas movie. If you look at Editor Me is leaving some scenes of some of the fight scenes in this movie, and I think that alone just guarantees a watch. You guys need to watch this movie if you have not seen it. I was not expecting Nickelodeon to go this hard with Rise of the TMNT, the movie. And the crazy part is that this was supposed to release in theaters too. I remember back in 2016, Paramount had a panel saying supposedly this and the Loud House movie was supposed to release alongside it. And I don't know why they got rid of it. Most likely COVID came in and said, yeah, this isn't happening anymore, and Netflix acquired the rights. But Rise of the TMNT still survived, and so did the Loud House movie, but that's a different story. But this movie was just insane. I really knew that once I had finished watching this movie, yeah, this was definitely one of my all-time favorite versions of the TMNT, and also one of their better animated films. And I feel like now, leaving that at number 2, I'm pretty sure you know what number 1 is. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. All the other critiques I've given these other movies, this movie balanced all of them. Number 1, the story. Number 2, the animation. Number 3, the dynamic with the turtles, the villain, Splinter. It balanced literally everything. I love this movie beginning to end. I've already talked about this movie on my review, which you should go check out, give it a watch after this. But it was just a phenomenal movie. I really like the idea of giving these turtles, a younger preteen side. Give them this origin story that's gonna play out through this trilogy that Seth Rogen wants to do, and make them kind of, step up to the plate of becoming, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're still trying to learn all these things out. There's a lot of funny moments, and the action, okay, this scene alone made me know this movie was really good. It's such a creative scene of the turtles at multiple crime scenes fighting the crime there. It's such a creative scene. I really love that. And the villains' designs, it was just crazy. I really loved Superfly in this movie. He was actually a much better villain than I thought he was going to be in this movie. I thought he was just going to be okay. But he was really, really good. I just love this movie beginning to end. It had a good runtime, it was able to flesh a lot of things out, and this franchise has a very promising future. From what I've heard a lot of people talking about it, some people even thought this movie was gonna bomb. Well, it is not. It's doing pretty well, and by the time I've probably released this video, there's probably an updated box office. Let me know how it's doing. It's probably doing very well. It's already at the 50 million mark. A lot of people didn't expect it to go that high with all these crazy movies coming out, but it's doing insane. But I really do appreciate that Seth Rogen was able to make this, and we have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie with actual teenagers. I have no idea why that took so long. And yeah, that's my ranking. All of the animated TMNT movies, starting from TMNT 2007 being at the bottom, sorry, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem being at the top. I kid you not, duking it out with Rise of the TMNT. I was just neck and neck. They were really there. But yeah, that's my ranking. And what do you think of all these movies? Where would you place all these movies if you had your own ranking? Let me know down in the comments, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Cowabunga.